This is Star 106.5 FM, Nassau, Bahamas. It's time for Your Lane with Coach Trish Anna.
Yeah, we got to empower, educate, and encourage your women to motivate you through whatever you've been going through. We can talk about it. We ain't passing no judgment. So don't be ashamed. It's all the same. Stay in your lane. Your lane. It's whatever your real looks like. Stay in your lane. Come out the dark and don't be ashamed. Your lane. Let's have a conversation on what we think every day. Tune into your lane talk show. It makes us feel good just to know we're not alone. No more will be like the lady that gets the sky. I want you to come up and talk. Just don't be afraid of your heart. Don't be ashamed. It's all the same. Stay in your lane. Your lane. It's whatever your real life looks like. Stay in your lane. Come out the dark and don't be ashamed. Your lane. Let's have a conversation on what we think every day. It's your Rain Talk Show with Coach Trish Hannah.
Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to Your Lane Talk Show with your coach, Trish Hannah. It's been a while. We're broadcasting live from beautiful Nassau, Bahamas. The time has changed a little different over here, as you know. I think it's 6 o'clock. It feels like 7, 8 o'clock, but we're still making it happen, right? We're still making it happen. We're still doing everything that we need to do in the same 24 hours that God has given us. To our first time listening audience, thank you so much for being a part of the show. Your Lane Talk Show was created to educate, encourage, and empower women of all ages. All right. Every single topic that you can possibly think of regarding us as ladies, as women, as individuals, we cover. And if we have not covered it yet, best believe it, by God's grace, we're going to ensure that it happens. Okay. All right. And of course, our male listeners. All right. This is actually a topic that I feel that both male and female should be a part of. But thank you so much for tuning in to even the shows when we talk about, let me not say that, but it's true. Even the shows, when we talk about our feminine parts, we have male listeners calling in and making remarks and stuff in the show. But thank you for that. Thank you for being a part of our show, regardless. And it's good that you get to know these things so that you can know how to properly deal with us and handle us for wives, for girlfriends, for even daughters. All right. So no hating on this side. So even though it's a women's talk show, we cater to women. Men are always welcome to tune in and listen in, especially on shows like today's show. The last time that we were in studio, we discussed breast cancer survivors, the show with Arizona Rule. She is a breast cancer survivor, and we had with us Tequessa Bain. She's the president of the Jenny Dean Caring and Sharing Cancer Support Group. And our breast cancer survivor, Arizona, spoke about her challenges, the way that God moved in her life, and the way that God cured her, and how she's progressing and doing so well. And of course, Tequessa, as the president of Jenny Dean Caring and Sharing Cancer Society Group, she spoke about the ways that they help with women, supporting them with prostate breath, certain bras and hairstyles, and where to go to get this and to get that, advising them accordingly. And this is a baton that she has carried on from her mother, who had established this group and support group. So she's actually carrying on a legacy, and it's a wonderful show. It's very heartfelt and touching. Yes, I shed 1 or 2 tears. I ain't lie. But it was just that good. And of course, if you want to go ahead and watch that, the topic of the show is called Radiant Resilience, Thriving Beyond Breast Cancer, Part 3. And you can find that on Coach Trish Hannah's YouTube account. All right. Now, our topic for today's show is an unshakable bond Honoring Covenant Above Contract, and this is part 2. You can find part 1 with Apostles Cheryl and Yvette Benton on YouTube at Coach Trishana as well. That's episode 101. Now, I made the statement. I went up and I researched what covenant meant. What a bond means rather, in the Merriam Dictionary. The first time the show was broadcast, a part 1, and I decided to just read it again for those who may be hearing the show for the first time. Webster Dictionary says that a bond is a binding agreement. A bond is a covenant. It is a band or cord used to tie something, an adhesive, cementing material or fusible ingredient that combines, unites, or strengthens. Okay. The synonyms for a bond is join, connect, fasten, fix, affix, attach, secure, bind, stick. Now, for something to be unshakable, according to the same source, means not possible to weaken or get rid of. I hope you're getting a word from this, even these definitions. Not able to be shaken, strongly felt and unable to be changed, unable to be disputed or questioned. Now, the synonyms for that is steadfast, resolute, staunch, firm, constant, decided, and determined. In this case, a bond unshakable means a union that will not result in separation or divorce. And you're going to see why I actually said these things as I did from the first show. And that's simply because a few weeks ago, Bahamas National Statistical Institute released select data from the completed census from the population and housing census that was conducted in 2022. Now, in this, the census stated that the number of marriages between 2010 and 2022 in the Bahamas decreased, and the number of divorces and legal separations increased over the same time frame. Now, I don't want to go on because they listed a bunch of numbers. And of course, due to the time in the show, we're unable to go through all of that. But you can find more information on this in the Nassau Guardian's October 23rd publication. Marriages are decreasing. Basically, the synopsis is that marriages are decreasing and divorce and separation rates are increasing. I'm going to give you some time to call a friend and tell them to tune in to Star 106.5 FM dial, channel 976 on cable. And if you can watch us on Facebook, you can do so on Your Lane Life Coaching Facebook page, Kevin L.A. Ewing's Facebook page, or in the In Faith app. Okay. Now we notice that, and this isn't, the statistics isn't only just for us as Bahamians, because if you honestly, no matter where you are in the world, you're going to see that it's like nothing is like changing clothes for couples or married couples to be in a relationship or be married for a couple months or a couple years. And then because something isn't working out or something that somebody doesn't like or don't like the way that somebody smells, they go on divorce. All right. So it's like you putting on clothes and you changing, it's like nothing to people. And this is not just in the Bahamas, this is worldwide. And we've come today to help with that. We've come to bring the knowledge and the insight and the truth. We've come to bring the truth, because there might be somebody who's tuning in right now that's on perhaps the edge or the precipice, or and in between having to decide whether or not they want to leave their marital home or their marriage, or they want to remain. And especially for those who understand what covenant means, you still want to say, okay, God, well, show me a sign. We always, women, especially us, we're like, God, show us a sign, or God, speak to us. And you'll be surprised how he speaks. So it's not necessarily, the way that God speaks is just phenomenal. He uses the simplest things, and anyone from anywhere, once that message comes across, he can do it. And so I'm admonishing us all, if there's someone who in particular who may be being challenged or in a crisis in their marriage at the moment, please tag them. Please share the page, because in you doing that, you're actually helping. You're helping the ministry of marriage with gaining or sending knowledge and insight for those who may need it. All right. And of course, if they don't get to watch it today, the way that this is broadcast, you're able to watch it at any time and at your leisure. So without further ado, Your Lane episode 112, An Unshakable Bond, Honoring Covenant Above Contract Part 2 is live and in effect. And it's brought to you by The Perfume Bar, John Shoe Store and Accessories, Your Lane Life Coaching, Airwick, distributed by Thompson Trading, and Dario Eric's Productions. Get ready for a cinematic thrill, a night of short films by Dario Eric's Productions, featuring 3 mesmerizing short films: Deranged, The Inheritance, and What's in Your Hands, all featured at the Atlantis Theater, Paradise Island. This is to be broadcast on Saturday. Okay, so this is Saturday, not this Saturday. Saturday, December 7th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are now on sale and they're for $40 each. You can get yours at Moncur Fashion, Carmichael Road, opposite Scotiabank, or All Seasons Book and Gift Center, Palmdale Shopping Plaza. The dress code for this event is smart casual. The show is rated B, and for inquiries, you can give them a call at 436-6405. That's 436-6405. You don't want to miss this unforgettable cinematic experience. Guess what? I have 2 tickets here and I'm ready to go. Now, these are just, now I know these are for me. These are for me. We're not giving tickets out today, but we are giving away Pastor Kevin Ella Ewing's book today. So definitely tune in to find out how you can win that book. All right. So we're going to get right into it because there's so much to uncover today. And we have with us, let me put it this way. We have a guest. We have one guest and we have a co-host. All right. I call Pastor Ewing a co-host simply because he's been on the show so many times that I don't even call him a guest anymore. But with us, of course, all fun and jokes aside, Pastor Kevin L. Ewing and his beautiful wife, Mrs. Deidre Ewing. And Pastor Ewing is well known throughout the island of Grand Bahama and by extension, the Bahamas, for weekly religious articles that have been posted in our local newspapers. He has his own local radio show entitled The Spiritual Insight Show. His teachings are littered with scriptures, and he believes that the scriptures are the spiritual laws and principles that govern the spirit as well as the physical realm. He is the author of the well-known Prayers That Work book. He has also made bestseller on Amazon in the following categories: Christian spiritual warfare, Christian inspiration, and Christian growth. His helpmeet, Mrs. Deidre Ewing, was driven by her love and compassion for children to pursue a career in education. She was a highly accomplished teacher who was widely recognized for her exceptional contributions to the field of education. She received several national awards for her teaching, including the prestigious National Teaching Proficiency Award. Due to her success in education, she was promoted to a leadership position as an administrator where she continued to excel until her retirement. That is the juicy part. In addition to her career in education, Mrs. Ewing also assists her husband with marriage and singles counseling and appears on his talk show as a guest speaker. Her organizational skills have made her and Pastor Ewing a perfect match in ministry, and their synergy is extremely powerful. Today, she travels the world with her husband in full-time ministry, impacting people from all walks of life around the globe. This humble couple gives God all the honor and glory for what he is doing in their lives. Whenever life presents a challenge, she remains steadfast in her favorite scripture, Philippians 4:13, that says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. They are the proud parents of 5 beautiful children. I could go on and on and on about this powerful couple. They're one of my favorite couples, by the way, and I'm more than happy and privileged to have them on today's show. So I want to welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Pastor and Mrs. Deidre Ewing. Kevin Ewing and Deidre Ewing. Welcome to the show.
Good night.
Good night. And it's always a pleasure to
be with you, Trish.
Yes.
It's a pleasure
Thank you
having.
for having
This
me.
is this is the first time having Mrs. Ewing on the show. Let me stop being so. I try. Let me try my best to stop being so formal.
Mhm.
Cause she said she'd give me a little kink today. She's like, I know you could just call me Deidre Trujon, but I know how you go. I know how you are. So for today's show, we're gonna say Deidre and Pastor Kevin. All
Yes,
right.
Mhm.
Now, if I miss and say Mrs. Deidre,
that's
don't hold
fine.
that against me. But thank you for being a part of our show. I have you all to know that they have been married. December is going to make 10 years.
Yes.
Yep.
10 years. Happily, happily, happily married, right?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
All right. Right.
Very much.
Yes.
Very good. Very, very good. Now, guess what, y'all? We're gonna get. I need you to still get your pen and paper because we all know you can't have Pastor Kevin on the show and he don't use some scriptural references from somewhere. It's impossible. So they're not just gonna speak using their own understanding. They're coming with scriptural references. So get your pen and paper in hand. And of course, we're gonna tweak and get in their little business a little bit because, and it ain't just because we trying to do ratings or nothing. It ain't that. We want to know that, hey, if we're going to look at kingdom marriages, we need to know who do we try to, of course, we emulate Christ and his word. But, he places people on earth that we can actually look and say, hey, we can glean from this individual. We can glean from the knowledge and the experience that they have so that we can try to allow Holy Spirit to use us to do what it is that they do, to be better or, whatever capacity in your marriage, because every marriage is different, right? Right. So I don't want y'all to think that, you want us to know. I'm not asking you to try to be like them, but it's good to glean nuggets and insight from people who have been there, people who are kingdom ambassadors, so that we can know how to, I think it was Paul who said, follow me as I follow Christ.
Right.
Thank you, Lord. That is. Bam. I didn't finish with that. All right. So so we're gonna go straight into it. And the first question I'm gonna ask you, I don't know if it's anything you want to say prior to my question. Is there anything that you two want to share just before my okay? Right. So let's get straight into it. We want to know, what does covenant mean? And I shared with unshakable bond and unbreakable bond. I defined those. But what is covenant?
McKenna?
And
Well, a covenant in a marriage would be the agreement with both parties that has made the decision to be married, both parties having their specific obligation, with both parties having the common goal of reaching or achieving that goal. So, in other words, they have to be working in harmony as opposed to opposing each other if it is their desire to succeed in their marriage.
And the only thing I would like to add is that God set the foundation for covenant between a man and a woman.
That's an important addition.
That's very
all
important.
right. That is extremely important in this day and age. God set the foundation for covenant for a man and a woman. We said it, and we ain't ashamed, right?
Right.
We ain't ashamed. All
No.
right. We're not ashamed of the gospel. All right. And so that is important. So you can't come, Steve and
Eve.
right.
Steve. No, sorry, Steve.
No. What is
Adam
it?
and Steve. It can't be Adam and Steve.
Can't
No.
go before no one talking about they trying to make a
No.
covenant. And
No.
Eve and who else? Evelyn
Right. Yeah.
can't go and
No.
no one talking about
Tell
they making a
Evelyn go
covenant
sit
to get
down.
married. Y'all need to go sit down somewhere.
Yeah.
All right? Because it's not happening. All right. The
Right.
Bible simply states a man and a woman. Man and a woman. And so we're gonna that's important to note. So when it comes to the covenant in the context of marriage, how does it differ from then the concept of a contract?
Once again. Well, a contract, when I think of a contract, I think more or less of something where finances are involved, where people come to an agreement to achieve something to gain the agreed funds at the end of it. And to be quite honest with you, it would appear as if most marriages nowadays seem to be contractual, okay? And people do not enter their marriages to be together until death truly do them part. The reason for this is because, most people, in my opinion, when they get married, they're not marrying on the fundamentals and foundation of what a marriage should be. And especially here in our society in the Bahamas and even in the Caribbean, I guess by extension the world, most people marry to benefit from the marriage, not necessarily to contribute to make the marriage successful. For example, a guy might marry a lady because she's educated or she have a nice shape, or a lady might marry a guy because she sees him as some form of financial security.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see, the intentions of both parties are already flawed in comparison to the foundation, the core foundational values of a marriage. So when they get into this union and the uh, novelty and glamour of why they got into it has already exhausted itself, they now begin to despise one another because there's nothing else left to sustain that marriage. So this is why I would say to people, especially when I'm doing the counseling, whatever it is that you're going to this marriage for, it has to be beyond whatever superficial thing you had in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, if loyalty and love and commitment and these things are not a part of your intentions in entering this covenant, then I can guarantee you they will make the divorce statisticless.
My God.
Also, Trish, persons who are Christians, we're speaking to Christians,
Mm-hmm.
who are married, they also made that covenant before God. So in a contract, normally when you have a contract, nobody say, okay, we do this before God and we do this contract. But when you decide to make that covenant before God, it's different now. It's just you have more accountability than that if you're just doing it from the flesh. And in Genesis, when God made female for male,
Mm-hmm.
it shows right there and then that this is the covenant that he saw that a man would need. And that's a Genesis chapter 2 and chapter 3 are chapters that I encourage couples who want to get married or married couples to read it again for clarity. Ask the Holy Spirit to give them clarity so they could better understand the purpose of a male and a female.
I love that. I love that. Do you want to go into it a little bit to say just briefly? You ain't got to go through all, but just
You
briefly
want the
share.
business now.
Y'all good for this.
Okay, for me, oftentimes I hear, when are you going to teach more? Or we want to hear you teach more. And from Kevin and I got married in the early days, I always tell people, that's not my calling. That's not my job, but I do it. I am Kevin's help meet, meaning I am his wife. I am supposed to be there to help and support. Now, that doesn't mean Kevin has the rights to treat me like a dog. I'm supposed to be pregnant and bare feet in the kitchen. No, we respect each other, values. I'm supposed to love him unconditionally. I'm supposed to support him and encourage him to be who God has called him to be. And I'm supposed to be submissive now. When I say submissive, because a lot of women feel, oh no, I'm not submitting to any man. That's not it. And that's why I'm encouraging them to read Genesis chapter 2 and 3. It's more the submission and just you bowing down to someone. No one is supposed to disrespect you. I'm not saying that. It's supposed to be mutual between both parties. So that concept that everybody has when they're talking about submission, I would speak more for females, and then some what I consider back in the day guys or old fashioned guys who believe, yes, this is the way they're supposed to treat women. No, you really need to read the Bible for clarity and get a better understanding on what being submissive is.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. Submission is important. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later down in the show. And I want to know, what are ways then, and both of you can answer this, what are some ways that a marriage covenant can be broken? And then part two of the question is, what happens spiritually when the covenant is broken?
Well, I'll take that question. A marriage covenant being broken didn't begin when the marriage was achieved and the party was whatever they did to break the covenant, whether they were unfaithful or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
These are the things, like I would have previously said, that should have been addressed prior to saying I do. When a marriage comes to an end for whatever reason, what you're really seeing is the tentacles of the root that already began before they said I do. For example, let's say a guy meets a girl, right?
Mhm.
And she loves this guy because he's handsome, he's cute for whatever reason. However, there is a lot of trauma in her life that was never dealt with, a lot of hurt that she never healed. So again, this is going to be a part of probably many other connecting parts that will bring that marriage to its knees, because once you say I do, getting out of it isn't going to be as easy as getting in. So now that you're in there and there are things that trigger that lady, and I'm using a lady, but it could be a man or a woman,
Mhm.
and they're going to be things that may trigger her, and she goes off into different modes, and the guy's trying to figure out, why are you behaving this way? Why
Mhm.
are you so distant? Why are you showing no affection? Why this and why that? Now, whatever happened in the past, let's say she had other previous relationships where the guy disrespected her or sexually abused her or didn't show any affection, or she was the one showing all the affection and never got that in return. Now, this guy who she's married to, who had absolutely nothing to do with that, he's showing his love, he's showing his affection, and he's making it clear verbally, physically, and every other lead.
Mhm.
However, she cannot receive that. Why? Because this fence, this wall, that a stronghold, I call it, that's in her mind. So in her mind, if she opened up herself to this guy like she did with the former guys, she might be disappointed again. So here it is, this guy is being whooped with the stick of these other men
Mhm.
that have nothing to do with him. But this is the worst part, though. The worst part is that she is never communicating why she's doing what she's doing, or why she behaves or speak to him the kind, whatever it is. So what happens now? It's only a matter of time before he becomes very frustrated. And I don't care how strong he is, I'm sure he's going to hold out for a while and do his best. But it comes to a point where there's going to be a breaking. And yes, he might love her, and yes, he may be patient in the end. But let's look 2, 3 years, 4, 5 years down the road.
Mhm.
And this thing you guys spoke about from day one is the same thing every time a discussion or argument come up. It's the same problem over and over and over. And the bad part is the one who is doing this cannot see how they're destroying their marriage. They cannot, they, in their mind, you should understand. Understand what? You have yet to communicate it. You have yet to say anything. So this guy now is supposed to be some modern day prophet to figure out what's going to happen next in her mind or what she planned to do. And I think that puts tremendous strain on the marriage. And I believe that uh, the lack of communication is going to be the keynote speaker in leading to a divorce in this situation.
Wow. Wow. So, I mean, and there are so many. I know, like you said, it can be both man or woman, but I know with us as women, we have. I can name some right now because some I had to struggle with until God had to like open up my eyes, allow me to see some things, and one our mouths. Oh dear. You
Yes.
know,
Mhm.
we whatever comes to our head, we spewing it out. You
Right.
know, this is how I feel, and this is this is my feelings, and this is how you know. I remember one time I read a scripture that says, "A fool blurts out what is on their
Right.
heart." Woo! That
Mhm.
hit me. That
Mhm.
hit me hard. You know, that's one thing that one of the many things is just our mouths, man, having to control
Yes.
it. We have to understand what to say and when to say it, you know. And for us, and for men, what I've learned is that, you know, when you think that they have forgiven, that thing is still in the back of their head. And Pastor Kevin, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but men hold on to the words that we say. It's like, because with women, we know that we may not be able to fight physically. Our mouths are so powerful that when we say something, it's like a jagger to men, and that can cause a massive problem.
But let me add to that.
Mhm.
Again, let's go back prior to the I do's. More than likely, that's a learned behavior.
Mhm.
She would have seen that with her mother, the way she spoke to her dad or some relative, or so on. And this is, I'm going to go back to this point repeatedly throughout this interview, and that is, if you don't deal with these things from the root, if you feel you could carry that same behavior, how your mom treated your dad, and you see it ended in divorce, or you see him becoming unfaithful as a result of it, or whatever else she maybe probably did, you saw these things, but here you are, which I call a generational curse. You're toting this thing that secured the failure of your parents into your marriage. Now, you may not think that way because, this the wedding day, 65 layer cake, 60 million people in your bridal party. You're not thinking about these things. But then when all of that is done, and now reality kicks in and you have your normal life, you resume to living a regular life, you portraying those exact things that your mom did to your dad, or vice versa. His father did his mother. And now you're pouring out all of the ingredients in your marriage, which were the exact ingredients and prescription for divorce from your parents' former marriage. So this is why I say, if you don't have counseling to marriage, and not just have counseling, but to be honest, to be real, to be authentic. If you don't do those things, then you're going up to that altar with a mouth packed with lies, for better, for poorer, for richer, for poorer, for whatever. They're all lies. They're all lies because you're already programmed to directly or indirectly bring this thing to an end when it doesn't go your way. So this is why, again, we go back to the beginning. If you should not be joining in holy matrimony with no human being or even an animal, if you haven't sought you out first, sort your attitude out, sort your mouth out, sort your short pay, your temperament, your hate and bitterness and spitefulness and vindictiveness and pettiness. Deal with that before you tell some man or woman I do.
My God.
Yes, I want to add, Trish, too, for Kevin and I, even though Kevin was a minister, he was in a pastor then. We still went to a pastor who both of us agreed with. That's key too, because you will find there are some biased ones.
Yes.
My family or my friend, I don't encourage that. I would encourage where both persons agree this is the person they don't mind sharing or communicating with. And at our first meeting with that pastor, Kevin shared some things. And when he shared it, my eyes were like this, popping up my face. But it wasn't that it's the first time I heard him say it to me. It's the first time he openly said it publicly. And then I realized this man been telling me this all this time, but I was not hearing him. Mind you, Trish, also for women who have been singles for a very long time, we have some habits. We have a way of just doing things our own way. We get
independent.
We're very independent.
Yeah.
So it was a process for me. Honestly, it was a process for me my first couple of months to a year in the marriage to understand I'm not single. I mean, even to the fact that when I was dealing with a situation, he literally sit me down and he like, we're one now. Why are you worrying about this? I still had the mindset of a single person. And that's a horrible thing to do coming into a marriage. So everything that Kevin said, communication was key for us. We had to communicate. Kate, we had to respect each other. It wasn't a choice. We decided there were some things we were going to do and don't do in this marriage, and we have to hold each other accountable for that up to this date.
I love
and if
that.
we're upset, we can still do what we need to do, even though we may be upset in the moment. It doesn't deter what's needed to be done. And that doesn't happen often. That's rare.
I love that. In fact, we're going to talk a little bit about that too, but let's take a quick break. And right after the break, we'll talk about ways that can help, because I have like a bunch of questions here, but I won't go with the flow because we want to talk about, okay, we have a marriage that is a kingdom marriage, but there are times when the person gets you upset. How do you deal with conflicts? How do you deal with issues when you disagree with something? Who has the final say, etc.? Let's take a break and then we get right back into that.
Dario Eric's Productions cordially invites you to an unforgettable
Turn it down for
episode.
me. Hello to Facebook audience. Thank you so much for tuning into the show today. Thank you, Father. I was going to say thank you, Father. Thank you for the support with Pastor Kevin and Deidre Ewing. And I noticed that some people shared where they are from and listening from. We saw some from Tobago. We saw some from that was going through. I guess you can share where you are listening from. And if you have any questions, we're going to have an opportunity to ask questions so that Mrs. Deidre and Pastor Kevin can answer those questions for you. In the meantime, oh, we got Jamaica in the house, Texas. That's awesome. That's awesome. In the meantime, for those who are listening to us locally, we have some books to give away. We have some books to give away, and we want to ensure that you are able to get them. If you do not have prayers that work, the book Prayers That Work, and you want to get one, I'm not certain if we're going to do like the third person calling, etc. I don't think we're going to do that. You're just going to text us today. The number to text is 1-242-376-8689. That's 1-242-376-8689. Of course, well, I don't have to say 1-242 because this is for the locals, right? Right. So you have an opportunity to win the book, and guess what? Just in time for this giving season, right? This is the giving season. So you wrap it up and give it. Give it because they can need it. If you really care about that person, you want to know, you should care about their prayer life as well. All right. So that's a beautiful gift to give someone. All right. Prayer that works. And I'm gonna ask my producer how he wants us to do this. Just yeah, we're gonna text, but is there a way that you want them to do like that? Because I was saying I didn't want to do a third call. Should we just say the first person that texts? Let's be easy today, right? All right. So I'm actually going to share this on the radio stations as well because we're on a break. So I'm going to give the ones who are listening via radio an opportunity to win as well. But we're going to go with the first texter just to say, we got to say something, Beats. What do you want them to say? I need prayer. So the first person that tags the first local, because you're gonna have to come to the Nassau Guardian to get your the book. So the first local to text and say I need prayer, you will win Prayers That Work book from Pastor Kevin L.A. Ewing. I need prayer. Okay, we already have one. All right, and she went straight into her question. Y'all don't play now. I love it. Ready? All right. So let me be fair a little just before we continue with the show. During our break for our radio listeners and our cable listeners, we said that we're going to give away a book, Prayer That Works from Pastor Ewing. And we wanted the first person to text in, I need prayer. And I didn't even say it out my mouth for 2 seconds. Good. And someone texted, I need prayer. And they also texted a question. So we're going to ask that question a little ways after. We're not going to forget this question, okay? I promise you. But we're going to have an opportunity for question and answers. But you are just texting your name for me, please, so that we can know who sent this question and who stated I need prayer. All right? Because I just can't give it. She texted now. All right. So as you do that, we're going to ask someone who's listening via radio or cable to also text in. And you're going to do that on our next break. So the number to call is 376-8689. Text on the next break now. The next break, 376-8689, so that you can win a Prayer That Work and give it away. Love is something that you give it away. All right. And that's providing that you don't have your own, of course. All right. And even if you don't have your own, if you bless somebody with one, I bet you somebody else can bless you. Right? Right. All right, let's go back on continue on with the show. Just before we went on break, we were talking about, Mrs. Deidre, because I couldn't come out and say Deidre. Mrs. Deidre was talking about, there are times that in the beginning of her marriage or Pastor Kevin and her marriage, they did counseling, or prior to the marriage, they did counseling. There were some things that were shared while, during their dating stages, and in the time when he actually announced it and told it said it publicly, it was an eye opener for her. So that in itself says the importance of having a mediator, and a proper one too, a God-fearing mediator, prior to saying I do, so that you can actually dissect and analyze each other's thoughts fairly, and amicably prior to marriage. And in that, you're able to share and communicate, as Pastor Kevin said, because communication is key and very vital in knowing, okay, this is what's going on with me, or this is how I feel, or this is what happened to me in the past, and this is the reason why, because I've had shows like this. This is the reason why I'm triggered when you touch me here. This is the reason why I'm triggered when you say this thing. This is the reason why I triggered when you prance at me, because of the experience that I had previously or prior to us being together, etc. So communication is key, because when you are silent and when you keep things in and you try to maneuver in life in your marriage, you realize that the other person is unaware, and so they respond differently because they don't know, and it makes matters worse. So as and then of course she spoke about there are times that they disagree, and this is where I wanted to come in, because even in kingdom marriages you do have disagreements. In kingdom marriages you do have times when someone does not like the way that something is done. So for both of you, if you can share, how do you deal with that, and what is the best way to do it? Who has the final say, and how is it? How should it be resolved?
You go first.
I'll go first. Well, let's start with this. A kingdom marriage, I want to be extremely clear on this. A kingdom marriage does not equal perfection.
That's right.
Let's start with that. And let's just get that out of the way. With that said, a kingdom marriage, like with anything else in life, is governed by laws and rules and principles. And those who would have established that particular organization, in this case, kingdom marriage would have been God, then there are rules that he has in scripture, okay, such as don't let the sun go down on your wrath, be angry, but sin not. See, all of these things, everyone forgets when they're temperaturized in their argument. And what do then? They bypass the marital laws and rules and principles to keep them together, and now reach for what they would have learned all their life. Cuss one another out, call each other name, break up the place, and in some cases you drop kick one another, all right? Which should not be happening, period. And all of this should say to those couples involved, we doing this wrong. This should have never come to this. But again, let's go back to the beginning. The focus was more on what color we're going to pick for the bridal party, how much limousines we're going to have here, and whether your mother-in-law going to sit to the front or my... See, that's the garbage that people get married on. That's the pillows. And let me equate that to you. Let me give you the equivalent of that. The equivalent of what I just said is trying to put a 50-story building, standing it up on toothpicks. So this is why you have to realize what you're getting into. You have to realize that I'm entering something that there's going to be a demand on me to change my ways, change the way that I think. I cannot... Let me give an example. I think this is the perfect example. For those who would have accepted Jesus Christ, once you got saved, you know what you say now? Boy, I won't cuss no more. I can cut back on this lying thing. You're prepared to make changes because it's going to be required to follow Jesus. Marriage is one of the institutions, and again, this is based on my experience and the people that I deal with. Nobody feel that they have to change. They feel they can carry on with their regular way of living. The idea is we're now married. Now let us carry on with our regular way of living. That's not going to work, because now you're not going by no set of rules. You're not going by the respect your partner, be submitted one to another, be faithful, committed, be prudent, look towards the future. No one thinks about that. Everything in today's society is how do we look to the public. So we could just finish cussing each other, stink home, but we got a service to go to. And we all up on each other like this all the time. So this is what I'm saying. Society nowadays, when it comes to these things, it's a big fake. Everything is about being superficial. There's no root. So this is why when you hear stories like, boy, I heard he cheated on her, and I hear he's cheating on vice versa, whatever. I'm not shocked because there were no rules in place to prevent that. There was nothing to derail you guys from that. So everybody going in with the idea of this is how my mommy do it and how we do it. And he's saying that his daddy saying, now look here, ain't no man that's cry around here. You got to show these women what time it is.
Yeah.
This is the stupid analogies and examples that we walk into the marriage with. Now the marriage has failed, and you become that generational statistic in your family who has achieved the unwanted reward of divorce. So it's important, it is so important that when you see you're getting heated or you cannot control yourself, whatever the case may be, it's not shameful to seek counseling, to get a mediator so that you guys can see what is causing this. Yeah, it shouldn't be an excuse to say, well, she make me cuss out. Ain't nobody make you do nothing. You made a decision to cuss the person out. The problem here is, now that you've made a decision, where did this come from? What tips you on the edge so much that you have to use violence, obscenity, or just don't speak to the person no more, or jump into this petty mood? Deal with the root.
Yeah.
Telling the person, listen, don't be petty no more, ain't gonna change nothing. You just take cutting off the leaves. The root is still in place. So as long as that root is in place, you might have a so-called kingdom marriage on the outside, but you got a cussing match on the inside.
Yes. I also want to add, Trish, that when you're in a heated argument with your spouse, what Kevin has taught me is to focus on the issue, whatever the issue is. For me, if he tells me something that I see he does or did before, I would definitely say, well, you do that or you did that. And he would say, but we're speaking about this and what you just did and what's happening now. Now we can
Mm.
speak about me, but this is not the present time because you didn't bring it up to me. I'm bringing up to you what I notice or what I see. So let's address this issue. And if I'm being stubborn I would listen. I may listen, but I may not really want to take it in. But what I do, I try and analyze myself and say, okay, Deidre, look at it. Let's see what's happening. What did you do? Why was it? Because sometimes you do things by habit. You know,
Mm.
it's just a habit. You do it because you've been doing it so long. You're not realizing that it's getting on the person's last nerve. So you have to change it. But what I always do is remember scripture far as what it pertains to in a marriage.
Mhm.
Because in Ephesians, it speaks for women and it speaks for men. Ephesians chapter 5, 22 to 27. It
Mhm.
speaks on both parts and it tells us. So, for example, if Kevin supposed to love me the way God say, I don't care how heated he gets, he's supposed to show love in being very heated with me, right? But we don't get men or women that do that. We totally dismiss what the Bible tells us to do when we are in our flesh, because now the flesh
Okay.
take over. We ain't have time to hear what the Bible is saying. But I constantly remind myself, but what I want men to know, because when I came into the revelation of this, it was something Kevin and I was talking about. When men, married men, are not taking care of their wives like the way they're supposed to, because in the Bible, according to the Bible, they're the weaker vessel.
Yes.
When they pray, and a lot of men may still not notice, and this is in Peter 3 and 7, God is not hearing their prayer because
Yes.
they're not doing their job, what they're supposed to do to their wives. So God is not even hearing their prayer. And that's very important for a marriage, because if God said these men supposed to lead this marriage and God ain't hearing up your prayer, what's gonna happen to us and our family? And I think people just overlook that, like that's something so simple, but that's very strong and that's very deep. That
That
carries
is.
a lot of weight in a marriage.
It sure does. And I have to re-emphasize what was said. I mean, the fact that you're mistreating your wife in whatever way, um, unforgiveness, manipulation, narcissistic behavior, whatever it is, whatever demeanor, treating other people better than you treat her, not loving her as Christ loved the church. The Bible simply says you are mistreating her, then I'm not going to hear your prayer. Somebody
Right.
needed to hear that. Somebody need to be delivered from that truth because that is the truth. That's powerful right there. That is powerful. But I wanted to focus more on when we do break covenant. And I know you said that, with certain things like infidelity is actually one of them as well. That's a really big one. If it
Mhm.
is it the only one though that
No.
covenant can be broken? Can you share a few of other ways that covenant can be broken?
Yeah, well, definitely, like you would have said, infidelity will be top on the list. But then you have stuff like a person who, and you find this mostly with men, they're married to this lady, but yet their priorities
Mhm.
are their parents, their
Mhm.
mummy,
Possibly.
Oh.
or siblings, or right. So every time she tries to bring this up or to show him this, he gets combative, defensive, and feel, well, you met me with this, my family, what you expect me to do? No, buddy. See, again, apparently you didn't read the rule book on marriage
Mhm.
before you said I do. And it says that you must leave and mommy and daddy and
Yes.
cleave to the wife.
Mhm.
So that, and especially now in the society that we live in, you find a lot of that. Another thing too is dishonesty, where people are not honest in the relationship. You went into a relationship with a lot of things that you've never discussed with this person because you selfishly thought that had I told them that, they may not have married me. And you know what?
Right.
You might have been right,
Mhm.
but you are wrong because now that I notice, it's too late for me now because I said I do. Had I known this, then I would have made, I'd have had a bit of a better position to make a more sound decision being provided with this additional information.
Mhm.
So it is stuff like this. When you have these little things, but they would be considered little things, but clearly it's not going to be little because this is probably going to cause the conclusion of the marriage. Let's go back to the infidelity part. When a person decides to become exclusive with someone prior to the marriage, meaning that this is the person I want to be with, so you're now working your way towards the marriage, right? You cannot be in conversations, texting, WhatsApp, uh, emails with former people, particularly when you were sexually active with them.
My God.
This is key. And let me tell you why it's key. Because if the door is still open in that area, whenever you and your partner have a conflict, what do you think is going to happen?
Right.
You think you're going to go over and say, I'm mad with her today. I just want us to have Bible study. Let's start with John 3 and 16. I don't think so.
Mhm.
So you see, all of these things, if you don't shut those things, see, to me, you're saying you exclusive, but your action shows something entirely different. Particularly if you were sexually active, like what I said earlier. Because now that you're there, you gonna, after you done exhaust talking about what she did, then it's only a matter of time before you seek some kind of comfort over here. So
Mhm.
you already start off. I'll give you a perfect example. I remember years ago, this lady that got married, know her very well. The night before she got married, Trish, she
Mhm.
had her final sexual escapade with her ex. Now, do you think this is something to be doing prior to going into that marriage? No,
Mhm.
no. I know of another situation, and I'm giving up these points because I'm showing you how the our society, and when it comes to marital union, there is no form of commitment. There's not serious anymore. I know of a personal situation where this couple got married. Few days before they got married, and the husband would have learned about this later. Few days before they got married, the wife to be went to the pastor. This is something happened right in Grand Bahama.
Mhm.
Went to the pastor and had him do some editing of the marital vows. The sad part of all of this dude agreed to do it. Now, how is the husband going to find out? Okay, so they're already about 6 to 7 months into their marriage. And one day they had this heated argument, very heated. And she was the type that where she want to get back at him, she don't care. Whatever she would have done wrong, she would just want to hurt him.
Wow.
And she blurted out, that is why I went to the pastor and changed the marital vows. So what the guy did after they'd already bust up and she went away, she went out the house, whatever, he ran to get the copy of the DVD.
Mhm.
And when he played it back, he realized that, hold on, some stuff missing out of this marital vow, which she's supposed to tell him.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, how does that pastor feel? Because the marriage failed, they've divorced. So you see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying to you now, I'm taking it even deeper to you. A marriage conflict, when not resolved and ends in divorce, doesn't always mean that the two parties are the cause of it.
Yeah.
It could even be the one who was marrying them.
Yeah.
That's serious.
Because if someone came to me and I see, because I've done this several times, I tell them, listen, y'all stop wasting your time. Y'all ain't ready for no marriage, or two of y'all need to go sit down. Now, yeah, they mad with me, but guess what? They can get over it. And when they get over it, you know what they can say? Well, I thank God he said what he said to us. Because once you sign on to this contract, buddy, listen to me. You got to deal with the rules that govern it. If not, you will be dealt with in the relationship.
Yes, absolutely.
I just want to add to that, touching on Kevin speaking about vows.
Mm-hmm.
And when you make those vows, in those vows did not say neglect the home. It did not say that you're going to go and do some addiction. It did not say you're going to physically or mentally abuse your partner.
Come on.
So if persons can go back to their vows and go back to the rule book, Kevin liked to call it, then a lot of these things would not be happening in the marriages. But you have to have accountability, and you have to decide, both parties, that no matter what, this is what we're going to do and this is what we're going to follow. And that has helped Kevin and I a lot. I tell people, y'all think I don't be mad at Kevin? Of course. You think I don't make him mad? We would be for people to even try to pretend that with people. I know we go to the marriage and single retreats with the Humphreys, and there was the single retreat. There's this lady, and I am telling you, she just was admiring every couple, and she was talking to me, and I call her on the side. I said, girl, listen here. You see Kevin there? He make me mad coming out of that room. I say, do not get it twisted and feel, because yes, we love and respect each other, but that doesn't mean we don't have differences. But a lot of singles are just admiring couples and think it's just all a bed of roses. And when they say I do that, not even the first hour, they would say, oh Lord, what have I done? So that counseling, that pre-marital counseling, I cannot stress that enough for anybody who have not yet said I do. And for those who are currently in a marriage, go back to those vows that you promised that spouse under with God and all those who were there, and find a way to make your marriage work.
Now, premarital counseling with people with integrity.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, because we ain't gonna go to that pastor.
No. Unless he's serving pasta and grits.
That's it. That's
Right.
all. No, but seriously, that is so important. And going back, so this is Lord, the way that God does things is absolutely amazing. We're going to take a quick break, but I just wanted to say real quick the fact that yes, we are talking about covenant and marriage, but this, where I see where God is moving to, where he's trying to deal with singles as well. Hey, before you come and you make a covenant between me and your mate, your spouse, or whatever have you, I want you to understand that you're going to have to go through a process of counseling. You got to know, something where you're able to to share and communicate ideas. Something as simple as how many kids you want to have in the future.
Right.
Something as simple as, how do you deal with finances? Do you give alms? Believe it or not, you have couples who argue over giving alms and
Right.
giving to people, etc. What is your faith level? Do you believe in fasting? Because when the Bible says, even while we, being intimate, what happens if one person is fasting and one isn't? So these biblical things, fundamental things. What happens if we have an argument? What happens if your mother comes knocking on your door unannounced?
Yeah,
How do we deal with that? How do we deal with conflict resolution? These things are so important, because this is just going to determine, and of course, as time goes, you're going to see that you're going to actually be in that fire, but at least you would be privy to, how this person would act or behave, or their thought process prior to saying I do. Because you want to look at the red flags too, because sometimes y'all be asking God to show you a sign, and he right there showing you the sign, and he doing this,
Right.
and you still ignoring it.
You still ignore it.
So I know that this show is for the single. I know that this show is also for someone who is presently engaged and needs some answers. Listen, if you have not done any form of premarital counseling, go ahead and make it happen now.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right, let's take a quick break. Right after this break, we ask some more questions. We getting deep in that business, because Stephanie made a statement. She said, "Y'all don't think Kevin is getting me mad sometimes? She makes me mad in her room. I want to know." All right, right after the break. Let me see if I can ask. Let me see if I could read one of these. Real quick. Huh? That was a long one. Can I read that? No? In time for that? You want to read it? Go ahead.
Pastor Kevin, what you said about traumatic past relationships is true. I was in a 5-year relationship which came to an end systemically because of our past marriage. Initially, we both agreed the relationship will end in marriage. But as time goes by, or time went by, whenever there are situations that reminded her of her precious marriage, she labeled me as her past spouse. Many times I struggled. I suggested a counselor or meditator, mediator, and she refused. The relationship ended a few months ago. Until this day, she never knew.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that at all. That is so common, especially people who have had not only multiple partners, but partners who were abusive, not necessarily physically, but verbally. And what that has done is that set up what I call a strong hole in their mind. So anything that remotely reminds them of those encounters, trust me, whoever they are with or wherever they are, that is like that whole thing is reliving itself. They become isolated, recluse, obnoxious. It's almost as if there's a spirit that entered them at that moment, took over their body. And even though deep down they know what they're doing is foolish, but they carry it straight through. So now when the divorce comes, no matter where they are, and this is how that demon used them, they are in regret. Now they realize I had a good man or a good woman. This person treated me right, but because they never dealt with them. So the only way to clear them, even if you pray for them, is a waste of time if they don't choose to accept the responsibility that I am the problem here. You could shundo over them all you want. If they don't make up in their mind that, hey, look here, it is me. I need to be cleared. I accept the responsibility that my marriage failed. And when you're saying that, don't come, but he did stuff too. Yeah, we get that, but we're not discussing that. We're discussing the core of you. And this is why you're where you are today, because you refuse to accept responsibility for you doing what you cause happen in this marriage. So people, if you ain't learning these things before you get married, you might as well go get a ring for Satan and walk him up dial, because that's how it can be then.
That's a deep one.
Plenty
Welcome
trauma.
back. Well, listen, welcome for those who just joined in. You're late. All right, be out with us, Pastor Kevin and Deidre Ewing on air, talking about honoring covenant above contract. This is the sequel that we're excited about, because there are so many marriages out there who need to have this, who need to know, okay, how do I deal with conflict, how do I deal with the times when I feel as if I want a divorce, how do I deal with trauma. And then we have some singles who are in preparation for marriage. They are fiancés, and oh, I got my ring, bling bling, and they still lost. Pastor Kevin spoke about having a faulty foundation. You can have this pretty house, this big mansion, but if they on four Q-tips or four, what you call it, toothpicks,
Yeah, two
Yep.
quick
it's gonna
on an
fall.
eight-story building.
Okay, it will not last. Okay,
No,
faulty foundations do not last unless you introduce Holy Spirit in it, and you get and receive the law that is in the Word of God, and you abide by it. That's the only way that can actually work, right? Other
right.
than that, nothing happening. My there's a question: can a marriage covenant be mended after infidelity?
Yes, it can. But again, that is going to require great maturity. And when I say great maturity, let's go back. Remember, everything you asked me, you notice I'm taking you prior to the marriage. So
Yes.
let's say you met a guy or a girl, whatever, and this person, you realize even while you were dating them, they had difficulty with forgiving. So we already see where this going, right? So you could say, well, I guess he or she can change once we get married, or even if they, with the difficulty of forgiving, they don't let things go. It becomes a million times more difficult
Mm-mm.
if infidelity occurred in the marriage. Now, why? And why did I say it takes maturity? Let's deal with the mature person first. So the mature person was cheated on. They're upset. They probably pack their things and move out the room into the next room, or even decide to go in a hotel for a couple of days. Okay, this kind of normal stuff because you just broke a major trust bond here, right?
Mhm.
But the mature person, and I'm putting emphasis on mature, the mature person isn't quick to let things end. You know why? Because they're thinking futuristically. They're thinking
Mhm.
about the kids. They're thinking about not just each other, but how their parents and all of these other people. See, a person who just want to leave the relationship and any if they bug their toe, they want a divorce. You didn't know it, but such behavior is now revealing the true person, and that true person is a selfish person.
Mm.
See, you probably didn't notice the selfishness in the beginning. But now you're saying, "Oh, I'm not forgiving. You cheated on me. I want half of everything. I want the car and the house and the place that Malibu." See, that's a person you should have never been involved with. Because when they came into that marriage, they came with a contingency plan. They came with, listen, worst case scenario, I get now for this house. Or we selling this and I buy me something else, or whatever the case may be. So a selfish person, and I say this all the time, is the most lethal and dangerous
Yes.
human being to marry. You will regret that from start to finish. Even when that divorce ends, you still having traumatic experience from being connected because everything is about them. So you're saying, baby, listen, I did wrong. I lied to you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. I repent, whatever. No, 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 no. I'll do anything for you. I don't want us to end this. I don't want to split the children apart. I want us, yes, I'm wrong. And however you choose to punish me, fine. I will do constant whatever you want. I'll go to church, whatever you want. No, no, no. So she's not thinking about the kids. She's not thinking about these children are going to be fatherless. She's not thinking of none of that. And I'm using she, but again, it could be she or he.
Mhm.
So when a person is selfish, Trish, is equivalent to you speaking to that glass at the rear view and expecting an answer out of it.
Mm.
They're
Yeah.
immature and they can only see as far as their hand. A mature person will, like I say, be heated and upset as expected because it's a very, very tough blow. It's quite normal, but they are more reasonable. Now, they ain't gonna just jump back in your arms and you got to build that trust.
Yes.
But they're not willing to throw away the baby with the bath. They're willing to negotiate. They ain't jumping back into it right away, but they're willing to work their way through. And the reason why they're doing this too is to the trust have to be rebuilt. in
Right.
order for them to resume that relationship on the level that it was previously on.
Yes, absolutely. Did you add anything to say regarding that?
I just simply would add to that to say that it goes back to the covenant, the vows that were made from the beginning. You shared some words, they weren't meaningless. Now, to some persons, they don't even remember what they shared. And if you go back to those vows, yes, it's going to be very difficult because we live in the flesh.
Yeah.
So we don't just expect to take it and be happy and smiling and but eventually if you know that person is who God called you to be with, like I don't have a doubt that God didn't call me to be with Kevin. I don't have a doubt in that in my mind. So if that's the case, now I have to see where is the root behind what Kevin did to get us to this point. Because it just couldn't happen just for happening's sake. There has
Right.
to be a root of something. And that's where I think men and women need to listen more to their spouses. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them are crying out. Listen, Trish, you have some women, no children on this station
No,
tonight, right?
no,
You
ma'am.
have some females who do not, who feel it's okay not to make love, have sex, whatever you
Mm-hmm.
want to call it, with
Mm-hmm.
their spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you mad at your spouse, y'all are one.
Come on.
You cannot neglect one part because this is happening. Y'all have to say, okay, we're gonna put this aside, but we are one. And I must tell you, that was a learning experience for me. I have learned and grown so much as a woman being married to Kevin, honestly, because the word is what our foundation is built on. Does that mean I'm still not upset? No. But we learned to put things aside. You have to, because every marriage will have some disagreement. But a lot of persons don't do that. They don't remember their vows. It was like nothing. And they just go on emotions. And after they go on that emotions, when they think about it now, they say, oh, what have I done? I know of counsels a lady who she said her husband wasn't paying her any attention. So you know what she did? She went and found a little, what she called a younger boy who was
Mm-hmm.
treating her like gold. Okay? And now she regrets doing it. But now the younger boy is not leaving her alone. So what is she going to do? Because he's prepared to go to her husband, whom she loves. But
Mm-hmm.
she must have been telling this man over and over and over again, I'm not getting enough attention from you. I just need a little attention. That's another thing spouses need to look at. Am I working too much? Am I hanging out with my girls or boys too much? You have to have boundaries in your marriage. And you have to decide, hey, we said we're going to do this. Like Kevin and I, we create and make time for us. If when you see we go on vacation, that's our sabbatical for us to rest, to catch ourselves, to have a good time, to enjoy each other because you could be separated in the same house with your spouse, but you're like one on Mars and one on Venus. And
Mm-hmm.
that's sad because it shouldn't be. And it
Oh,
don't
that
be.
happens every I've heard, I've coached people as well in the same house, different rooms, different beds. They, someone doing something on one side, someone you'd be surprised. And these are prominent people as well.
Mhm.
Prominent people, and that's just how they live their lives. But we should know, hey, we don't operate like that. You spoke on something as well, and I really needed to touch this, especially for women, because we always have this thing where we use sex as a form of
Weapon.
manipulation. And
Yes.
I say we, but I feel ashamed to connect myself to something like that. But with women, they
Yes.
use sex as a form of manipulation. I'm
Mhm.
mad at you, so you ain't getting none, and you shut
Yes.
things down, clink clink, like Medea. But unknowingly, you are opening up the door, because here it is that what, and we know this, but just for people who are not aware of this, Satan looks for
We-
breaches. He looks for ways that we go against the word, so that he can now flaunt and say, he can accuse now, because he's the accuser of the brethren. And so he goes and say, well, what you gonna do? Because she said she's not doing what she's supposed to be doing to her husband. So you can't really do, you have to put your hands behind your back, because she going against your word. You understand? And so
Mhm.
here it is that she's using sex as a form of manipulation. And then here comes the man who's now deprived from what she's supposed to be doing. And then he's going elsewhere to satisfy his needs. And these are simple things that, and I'm just saying women because it's a women show, because
Right.
men do things as well, as you've
Right.
alluded to, you know, not getting the attention because of excessive working and gaming and what else they do, hanging with their boys and being with single-minded friends, etc. So all of these breaches are coming in, and then we wonder why there's chaos in the marriage. But the Bible, as you both stated, is the firm foundation on how to deal with situations. You want to know how to deal with someone, as we stated, we talk about women talking too much. We talk about just saying what's on our mind. We spoke about infidelity, and the Bible talks about all of that. So all I'm saying is that, hey, use the word of God as the foundation, as the
Right.
manuscript, as what is needed to know how, and that's the basis of it, what is needed to know how to maintain covenant. Now I wanted to ask you too, because, you know, like I say, at some point I was going to get in a business.
Mhm.
So what happens in cases, and you said it's not as you know, common, but what happens in cases when you do disagree? How do you resolve those issues? You two.
Mhm. Well, for me, like with everything else in my life, I think futuristically.
Mm-hmm.
I think ahead. And I say that because, and this is a nugget for people listening, I say that because at that time when you reach this stalemate or you're angry, of course, the devil have a field day with your mind. And he's telling you everything that you could do, how to get them back, how to spite them.
Yes.
But see, you got to now allow common sense to override what could give you a temporary satisfaction or pleasure, but cost you down the road.
Yes.
So, in my opinion, my best advice would be, especially when it's just too heated, pull away, pull away, back away. In some cases, you might just have to walk out the door, sit in the car, go for a ride, calm yourself down. Because the more, and especially now, some might say, well, you shouldn't walk away. Well, I could guarantee you it will be better than staying there and allowing that temperature to rise more and more.
Yes.
So when you pull away or go to somewhere to cool down, now when you be that temperature go down, you think sensibly now.
Mm.
And the next step should be, before you point at this person, look at you.
Come on.
Because people love to say, well, you know, if she would just shut up, if she would, yeah, that may be right. But you know she like to talk. So why do you always confront and accommodate that? No, no. So you have to come in your own mind how you're gonna readdress this. Because at the end of the day, people, they refuse to accept that this is how this person is. So every time they argue, it's the same thing over and over. So when it gets to a point where you can't resolve it, please get some form of professional counseling
Yes.
where people could show both parties error and try to come to some compromise to make it better.
What I'd say for me, um, with Kevin, if I realize certain arguments are not getting anywhere, sometimes somebody have to be the bigger picture, and we both do that.
Bigger person.
Bigger person, sorry. Sometimes somebody have to be the bigger person, regardless of what it is. And some things you argue about, it isn't even worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know when to keep a still tongue. And then, of course, the flesh in me will rise up sometimes. But what I find myself doing even more so now is going to pray.
That's it.
And I pray according to whatever the situation is. I ask God to show me in this situation, and but more so show Kevin his role in it, because it's just not one person alone. You know, so now the one person may be more outrageous than the other person, but still, because if I come flaring at Kevin, Kevin don't have to respond to me because he already see, okay, this don't make any sense. But now if he choose to respond to me, he's just as guilty as me coming to him and just making a fuss for whatever. I mean, we at a far better place now, but that's true practice. That's
Yes.
true communicating. And when we first started, oh my goodness, you'd wonder if you sure God, this is who you tell me you love me.
Look at the slide face, Pastor Kevin Harvey.
But each time, and this was like before we even got married, but each time, I would just know that yes, he is the person for me. We just learning to get to know each other.
Yes.
And we just have to respect each other and listen more than speaking at the person.
Come on, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And that is one of the many scriptures that I abide by when I'm going through my when I want to have temper tantrums and I have to catch myself. And Holy Spirit reminds me of the word, and I have to place emphasis on the fact that you have to study the word of God, because that's the only way that the Holy Spirit actually, you will hear him speak to you through his word. So
Mhm.
when you want to go and attack and you want to show up and you want to be prideful and you want to bring up the past, and you remember First Corinthians 13 that talks about love doesn't hold grudges and
Right.
doesn't keep a record of wrongdoing, and love is kind and it is gentle and all these different things, that then you have to stop. It's literally like him doing this to your mouth,
Uh-huh.
and you catch yourself, because and to be honest with you, it took me a while. It took me a while to get to that point, and we're 16 years in, and it took me a very long, it took both of us a long time to get to that point, but I give God praise that we're there, and we're there because of the word. Is like now we're using the word as a way of as I don't even know how to say it, to help cultivate the marriage for both of us.
And
And
set the
another thing,
boundaries.
right. And and another thing that Deidre stated, and this is so true because I just started doing this about a year ago as well, is like I realized that the way that I've been nagging, quote unquote, was that I was saying, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is how you should be, and this is that, and I keep pushing it, and I keep pushing it. And I realized the more I kept complaining about what he should or should not be doing, the more it was causing him to be more distant. And
Right.
so I said, you know what, let me try this another way. And I decided to go and pray about what he's doing. I pray about what, because that's what God was showing me anyway. Even though I was saying, God, this is your son, and you need to do this. And God is pointing the finger this way.
Hmm.
Right.
I want to
Hmm.
work on you. I want to mold you. I want you to know that a gentle answer turneth away
Very
wrath. I
well.
want you to know that, I'm looking for a gentle and a quiet spirit in you, and he's bringing me to First Peter chapter 3, about telling me about knowing about the inner disposition of who I am as a woman. You know what I mean? Before you go being all glamorous, and because I was one of them too, all cutesy out in the streets, and my husband this and my husband that, and inside in the core of who I was like, hey, you like those chihuahuas?
Right.
That's how I was a chihuahua. Okay. And I had to realize that, hey, muzzle your mouth, sis.
Uh-huh.
It's okay. Everything is all right. Our producer wants to take a quick break. You still want to
Okay.
do it? That's fine. We good. Okay, we good. Because I really didn't want to go off of this anyway. So I'm glad that you were able to share and y'all were transparent about, ways that you deal with, issues and deal with uh conflicts. All right. So what I wanted to know was, what do you both do to keep God at the center of your relationship? And especially when life gets busy or challenging. Pastor Kevin is extremely busy. I understand that. And as for those who started listen to the bio and introduction, uh, Lady Deidre is with her, or Mrs. Deidre is with him rather, through everything and in the midst of everything. But what keeps you grounded?
Well, my love for her, that keeps me grounded. And when your love, when your love is real for a person, no matter what it is that has you tied down, you will make time for whatever it is that you love. So for me, I have no problem shutting everything down to pay attention. She will tell you I'm extremely affectionate. I love being married. I love being married. I love sharing my love with Deidre. I'm not just saying this to sound noble or
Yeah.
decent. anyone that knows me, I speak about Deidre all the time. In fact, when I'm on my radio show, I brag about it and talk about it all the time, because this is where I find my comfort, my solace. I we was just talking the other day, and I was telling her, actually, I said your home should be a place of peace,
Yeah.
and I must say we have that here. So for me, once I'm done with my counseling and all, for example, this I think this is the perfect example. Since the year began, just about every month we were at some conference. I'm doing some speaking engagement
Mhm.
someplace in the world. So I made a decision to shut all of that down. That was last month. Last
Yes.
month. So I said, man, D, that's it for me. I ain't doing no more conference. That's it. I've given all my time. So I said, for going forward to the next couple of months, I'll just focus on, just doing stuff here home with my
Yeah.
show and so on. And then next year, my full focus will be on getting out the books that we've been trying to get out for some time now. Because I honestly do not listen. If you spend one day with me, you would say to yourself, how
How?
she even
I
asked
say
me,
it. I ask
right?
him every
Mhm.
day.
How do I do
How
it?
do you do it?
Because there's just so many people. I have one of my inboxes, one of my email boxes have over 40,000 mails in there. So when people say, well, how come I wrote you 3, 4 times? And I'm like, these people think I'm just sitting here just waiting on the email. So at the end of the day, I love this woman. And trust me, she makes me extremely super mad sometimes. All right. I want to be clear there. All right.
Yeah.
Ain't no bed of roses over here. But again, what I appreciate who she is. I love her for who she is. I'm
Yeah.
happy. I have never been this happy in my entire life.
My God.
So that's why I have no problem expressing my love and sharing my love with her and sharing my life with her. This is not a game for me.
Right.
After I've already poured into so many people and they've already drained me or whatever the case may be. This is my comfort. This is what I come home to. This is who I want to be with.
Right.
So for me, that's the way I see it.
Say, oh.
Oh, I trying to keep these tears in. I wearing the wrong lashes today. I gotta be careful. I don't want to let the water get on these too much. But honestly,
But I will
honestly,
add
that
to
is
that
powerful. Go ahead.
too, Trish. The good thing is what Kevin and I do, we have control over it because all of his engagements, I'm the person that they
Yeah.
contact, and I
Yeah.
always make sure that he has several weeks in between before another conference.
Yes.
Now, if he's doubled up in a month, that's only because God led him to do both. Because he would say,
Yeah.
I would always ask him, "You think you could do this the beginning of the week and this the end of the month? That wouldn't be too much back and forth." And if he's led, he would go, and if he's not, he won't. But what we do, like we say with our communication, we set boundaries.
Right.
Most everybody know, like Friday nights, that's us. You
Mhm.
have to set aside these things. People will feel like, oh, and then sometimes we just randomly go for a drive. We just say, Kevin say, man, dude, let's get out of this house. Let's go somewhere. Because he love long drives.
Yeah.
We respect each other and we prioritize our marriage. Let me tell you, before Kevin and I got married, and Kevin tells his story all the time, Kevin gave me his ATM card. Trish, the ATM
What?
card ain't had much money on it, but
Okay.
he still gave it to me and tell me I could take what I wanted. Two
Powerful.
things I realized in that. One, he's showing me, Deidre, this is where I'm at in my life
Yes.
Financially.
financially. So
Yes.
if this the road you want to go on, you know. Two, he's showing me I will always be willing to give you my last. Or I will make sure I can. I got all of that in this. I will provide for you however means I need to provide for you. Legally, of course.
Come on.
And he don't realize for me, I knew he was a keeper because it could have been $10. The fact that you were willing to give me, you're a single dad, and you're willing to give me that proved to me the type of character you had. And I always tell him, the guys I dated in the past combined don't make one of him. And I don't be
Come
saying
on.
that to praise him. I have never in my
I'll
life
accept the praise though.
Listen.
I have never in my life experienced what unconditional true love is. And just like Kevin said, it isn't that we don't have disagreements, but we made up in our mind what we're going to do. And this, when I tell you I'm happy, it's sometimes I feel embarrassed. He could tell you I feel embarrassed showing how happy I am because I don't want people to feel, oh, I'm think I'm better or I'm always just looking so happy, but I am genuinely happy with my marriage. And I just thank God. As I was preparing for this show, I was in the bathroom and that same card came to my mind, and I just say, Lord, I thank you so much for my husband.
Yes.
I love him. I love him lots.
I love
Lots,
it.
lots,
Listen,
Hey,
lots.
hey,
y'all have
hey,
me
hey,
having the
Trish.
DVD.
Let me tell you,
Degree.
right? Let me tell you the detail about the card story.
Come.
So one day she was buying me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I figured now this is gonna be the litmus test whether or not she can hang around.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to her, I said, I need you to go to ATM for me and to get off a few dollars and to do something for her, something like that. Anyway, I told her she could go and get it. Now I had a whopping like $220 on
Mm-hmm.
my account. That's it. I mean, this you bust this up, that's it, right?
That's it.
So my
Till
thing
next
was,
month. Till
let me
next
see
payday.
how right. Let me see how she's gonna respond. Let me see if she's gonna send a mind. Okay, I don't want to hang out with this broke dude.
Mm-hmm.
But when she came back and she told me she took and she gave me the receipt from the ATM. So I'm looking at her now to see if her demeanor is gonna change or she's gonna give me some kind of side eye or even tell me, man, you couldn't tell me you was this broke. But she did none of that. She did none of that. And that was something very, very unusual for me.
Yeah.
So I set out to get to this point here. And this point is, and I'm very serious, this point I want to make in my teachings on marriage, singlehood, and all of these other things, relationship advice. I say to people over and repeatedly, and I say it because I'm saying it from experience. Not
Mm-hmm.
just my experience, but having counseled other people, I've seen the same common denominator. The worst thing you could do as a single person who's seeking to be married, especially if you're a Christian person, is to make crazy prayers such as, Lord, I pray for a Christian man. Lord, I pray for a Christian woman. I pray that they be sanctified and could play the guitar and organ, all this foolishness.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Now, when I was young and before I had the experience what I have now, I even made those prayers. In hindsight, what we ought to be praying for is the will of God for our lives.
Yes.
The reason for this is very simple. You see, God had, when He created humanity, He already sought out the one for you. Now, you don't have to pick that one. You don't have to see. Normally, when I say that, people are saying, oh, you're trying to tell me we don't have no free will. I never said that. I said, God, the same way you say God has a plan for your life, well, inclusive in that plan is your spouse if you're supposed to be married.
Yes.
Now, think about this, Trish. I have a gift for you. I say, Trish, I got a gift for you. And you can tell me how to customize the gift I got for you. So when you say to God, I want him to make, Lord, let him be
Uh-huh.
bow leg Jesus and make him be saved with curly hair and a nice bed. No, you got to have so much faith in your God that, God, I know you want the best for me. In fact, your word says that your thoughts towards me are good and not evil and to give me an expected end.
Mm-hmm.
So your prayer should be, Father, put my will aside and what I want. Because you are the creator of all things, and who better to connect anything together to be perfect than you?
Mm-hmm.
Then I pray the will of God for my life, especially in the area of my marriage. Lord, connect me with what you had ordained for me before the foundation of the world. That is the safest and the most wise, is the wisest prayer you could ever make, because what you're saying now, and only someone who had experience throughout life and relationships would see the sense in what I'm saying. I did it my way. I messed up. I was betrayed. I betrayed others. They cheated. I cheated. We lied to each other. It was this game. They made me believe one thing when they were doing something else. So you know what? Put that aside. Father, I put this in your hand. Let your will run its course unhindered in my life, particularly in the area of where I'm about to make the second greatest decision of my life. The first one being accepting Jesus. The second one is being connected to the right person.
Yes, absolutely. And as we are wrapping up, I noticed that someone said, "Good evening. I'm texting about the book of Kevin Ewing. We have instructions. We gave instructions, and I'm gonna mind sharing it. It says the instructions was to type in, 'I need prayer.' Okay, that came straight from the producer's mouth. I need prayer. So you
Mhm.
could text back, ma'am. That'll be the second book because you already have a first winner. The first winner, her name is Crystal Murray. All right. And so the next person, when you do text, you need to text, I need prayer. And then please put your name in the text as well. So as we are wrapping up, I have to ask this question. Deidre, now I have to ask this now. From a Bahamian woman to a Bahamian woman, right? Now I don't know how things is go on your end because maybe I know if you just give them a look or not. Now I know. But I know that in some cases, not I know, but I assume that in some cases when y'all travel, you may have one or two women who try to overstep their boundaries. I don't know if you've ever encountered that, but have you encountered that, and how did you respond to it? Look at
Honestly,
I
Trish,
looking at Pastor Kevin's face, but go ahead.
I think because how Kevin expresses his love for me, I
Mhm,
have never experienced a person try and bully their way to him and disrespect me. In fact, what I get most times when we travel, Deidre, we appreciate you for loaning Kevin
Mhm.
to us.
I
We
love that.
respect you for that. I've never had to deal
No.
with no woman disrespecting the relationship Kevin and I have. And to be honest, persons who have witnessed us in various conferences, Kevin does his little 5 minute talks at the end with them. I'm
Mhm,
communicating with somebody else. I'm laughing with somebody over and I leave him to, because some persons will never get the opportunity to just get that word, and they may be following him, they may know what they're doing, but they just need that one little thing from him. And he
mhm,
said that to me years ago because I asked him, I said, do you ever get tired? Because we would be out for dinner, kid you
mhm.
not, right home, and somebody will stop the spoon
Understand.
here in my mouth in his mouth, and they said, I'm sorry, you are eating, but I may never got this opportunity. And
Yeah,
that happened. The first time that happened was about 8 years ago. And I started to let my flesh kick in because I was like, okay, man, come on, just
give
respect
us
us
a break.
eating.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said to me, he said, Deidre, picture yourself going through something that you've been to every pastor, you've been to people all over. And the only person based on his teaching, which you have seen, you feel could guide you to help you
Jeez.
get out of your situation. He said, now you see that person with their children, they having a good time, their spouse, what would you do? And that day, Trish, when he told me that, I never, ever, that feeling never came back because I understand people are going through. I was one of those persons and I benefited greatly and still benefits from him. And I will never, ever stop someone from benefiting in a way that it could help them better their life.
My God. That remind me of when Jesus said, "Don't forbid the children to come unto me."
Right.
When the
Yes.
disciples are like, "Man, y'all need to go, y'all need to go." And that
Yeah.
now we closing. And I want to do more. So I hinting because I know y'all on the little sabbatical or heading into, but at some point, if not before the end of this year, by next year, we gotta do a part three on this, please, with you too. So I don't want to get a new couple. I want y'all to come back if possible, and we could share that after. But I have to ask this next question. I'm asking for departing words now of wisdom.
Mhm.
All right. Because I was getting the eye just now for both of you. So I want both of you to share something for women who are presently married. I know for the singles, y'all got like a mouthful of stuff, right? A mouthful. Y'all got all the information needed. I wish I no, I'm grateful for the marriage I have now, to be honest, but I had to go through a journey to get to this point. All right. So I'm grateful for it. But I think that we would have been so further on ahead had we had this information 16 years ago. Sometimes people have to buck their toe to learn, right? And some people get the wisdom and then they just run with it. So what is it? I'm gonna start. Who wants to go first, by the
I'll
way?
go first. Kevin will
Okay,
close.
just to
And this just towards married
impart.
couples.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For
For
me, when
women.
I was one thing I would say key, you have to communicate. You have to be a good listener. That's what I was taught. I came into the marriage with none of these. If you say A, I say B. Communicate, listen, respect. The same type of respect you want to receive, that's the type of respect you have to give back. Boundaries. Yes, you have your girlfriends, you have things you were doing before. You may not be able to do those things exactly the same way as you did before, because now you're in a marriage and there's boundaries in the marriage. There's certain things that you need to do within your marriage. That doesn't say you can't hang with your girls, because I have my girls' night. Kevin has never stopped any of those things, but respect the person. Whereas you might have been coming home 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Now you know, okay, I'm married now. This is very disrespectful for me to be coming home. So it's just those little things of respecting the person you with. I think to me that is like a key. You have to give respect to the person you with, and you have to, the same way you want to be treated, that's what you have to do. And you cannot do tit for tat. That's something I had to learn, because if you did something to me, okay, I want to be the same way. That doesn't get anywhere. It doesn't work. And little simple things too, Trish. For example, Kevin reads all the time, so books would be everywhere. So when we first got married, I was a clean freak. So if I even see the book on the table, tell me why I'm mad if the book on the table. Books on the table. And the book's supposed to be on the
Supposed
table.
to be on the table.
So one day I had an aunt who told me her husband had left his muddy shoes in her bedroom, and she was livid and said she was yelling his name all through the house, yelling his name. She said when she went out the back door, she found him on the roof fixing the hole in the roof. She said, and she was immediately convicted. And when she told me that, I say, books or not folding up blanket. The first time you come out the bed, I say, I'm going to teach you how to fold a blanket. Hey, these are the simple things you arguing and rowing about. So I would really say you really have to look at the bigger picture, know who you have, but most importantly, you need to know that's who you believe God called you to be with. Because if
Yeah.
that's the case, y'all will be able to go through anything.
I love that.
And you said it's for the women, right?
Married
Yeah,
couple.
this one
Married.
of you. For the married, yes, married couples,
Okay.
however you want to
Irreversible.
word it. Yes.
All right. Yeah. Well, I just want to put emphasis on the women, if that's good. Well, the
That's
married
fine.
woman I want to talk about. Number one, you want to understand the fact that that is your husband. And what that simply means is that you need to treat him as if he is your husband. A lot of women, men are not great communicators in most cases. And both parties, and for the most part, there are things that he would want from you that may be difficult for him to communicate. So because you wouldn't know that and you can't read his mind, let me help you tonight. So what to do with him, right? What to do with your husband is to be affectionate towards him. Stop complaining. Stop always looking at what you don't have. If there's one thing a man love is respect. If you listen, you could never overwhelm a man with respect. In fact, you will get more out of him. You'll get him to do more just by you simply respecting him.
Yes.
Be affectionate to your husband, especially when it get heated sometimes. As simple as putting your hand and saying, "What happened? Talk to me." As opposed to you taking attitude or going tit for tat. These simple things could diffuse something that could have escalated and mushroomed into something that could bring the marriage to its needs. Vice versa with the men. You know, be loving towards your wife. Some men, the only time they know how to be loving is when it's time to be intimate. And this is horrible. And even in those times, they go there and they selfishly handle that situation, not caring how the other party feel. Again, you're being selfish. The greatest way to shut down a marriage is to be selfish. Think about your partner. Now, how do you do that? Well, sit down, talk. One day, you know what? I'm not going to have sex this day. Let's just sit down. You tell me what you like. What is it that you like for me to do to you that excites you? Very few people have that conversation. Most men come into the marriage thinking they're Mac Daddy. They know what to do. They've been doing
Right.
this for years. I come and throw down here and school you right now. And in their mind, they may think there's some king, but to her, you just wasted a full 1.5 minutes of my time. Right. So my thing is be open,
Yes.
be honest, communicate. This is your husband, this is your wife. Make yourselves clear to one another. And finally, when you walk away from that situation in terms of communicating, then be committed to whatever it is that you communicated. Don't come back later. Oh, I thought you said, and all of this garbage. No, be committed. I say this all the time. The difference between the smart and the dumb, the rich and the poor, sorry, what they have in common? Commitment. A person is poor because they're committed to doing the same thing over and over to remain poor. A person is rich because they're committed to doing the same thing over and over to become rich. A person is dumb because they're committed to being dumb. They don't want to read. They don't want to advance themselves. A person who's smart is committed to reading books, going into different environments, learning. So commitment is going to be the keynote speaker. So no matter how that marriage, if it ends successfully or if it ends in divorce, the keynote speaker was commitment.
That is wow. That's man. I'm mad. We have to leave, man. I'm mad that we're actually out of time. But I love what you both shared, and I am not surprised at all of just the transparency and the amount of wisdom and insight that you both shared. And I am so grateful to have you on, and privileged to have you on a part of today's show. And like I said before, y'all know I like to nag and beg, right? So I definitely want to make sure that you come back on, both of you, so that we could do another part of this, because this is so good. And this is so, I saw a post that said this is much needed, and I really needed that. And we didn't even have an opportunity to ask all of the questions that were posted today, and I do apologize for that. That's because we wanted to get the meat.
Right.
But I promise you, and I know if God's willing, that the next time they come on the show, we're going to ask those questions. And maybe after, when we sign off, because Crystal Murray, she was one of the first persons that posted in reference to I need a prayer. I need prayer. Her question was, how do you deal with a bitter and damaged mother-in-law? But because we had already passed that particular time where we were talking about in-laws and cleaving and leaving, I was unable to ask that question right away. But when we sign off, of course, I'll give you an opportunity to answer that if you so desire. But thank you so much, Deidre. Thank you so much, Pastor Kevin, for being a part of Your Lane Talk Show. It was an honor having you on. And before we leave, can you please share for the one or two persons left on the whole entire planet who don't know your social media platforms and handles? Can you share them for us, please?
Right. Okay. So those of you who want to catch up with my stuff, Pastor Kevin L. Ewing on YouTube. I have like 4 Facebook pages, same name, Pastor Kevin L. Ewing, Kevin L. Ewing Ministries. I also have an app for Android as well as iPhone. And you just type in Kevin L. Ewing and I'll pull up that app for you. I have a website, kevinlewing.com, where, of course, I would have my books. For those of you who couldn't get the books tonight, at least the 2 free ones, you can go to the website where exclusively we have the audio books in Spanish, French, and English. Prayers that work. Plus we have the soft copy as well as the ebooks. I'm also on Amazon, my books that is. And of course you could get the Kindle on Amazon in Spanish, French, and English, as well as the soft back books in Spanish, French, and English. And we also have the hard copy, the hardback one, in the English version only.
I love that. Thank you so much. You got to get the book. We do have our 2 winners, and of course I want to congratulate them both. Now the other person still didn't put a name there, or his name there, I don't even know, but please give us an opportunity to know your name, so that you'll be able to, because you can't get your book unless you show an ID anyway. So we need to get your name, please. So you can text that to me after the show. All right. So we are closing up. If you're navigating challenges in your marriage or seeking a stronger foundation, I'm here to help you guide you back to a place of unity, commitment, and faith. Together, We'll explore biblical principles that bring new life to your relationship, teaching you how to honor God's design for marriage. Remember, a covenant isn't just about staying together, it's about growing together, becoming the partners God intended you to be. Now, if you're ready to embrace that journey, you can reach out to me. You can learn more about my coaching services and how we build a marriage that stands the test of time, rooted in love, faith, and commitment. Let's walk this journey of covenant together. For more information, you can contact 1-242-376-8689 or go to Your Lane website at www.yourlanelifecoaching.com to schedule an appointment. Today's show is brought to you by The Perfume Bar, John Shoe Store and Accessories, Your Lane Life Coaching, Airwick, distributed by Thompson Trading, and DEP Productions. That's Dario Eric's Productions. Get ready for a cinematic thrill, a night of short films by Dario Eric's Productions, featuring 3 mesmerizing short films, which are Deranged, The Inheritance, and What's in Your Hands at the Atlantis Theater, Paradise Island, Saturday, December 7th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are now on sale for $40. You can get your tickets at Moncur Fashion, Carmichael Road, opposite Scotiabank, or All Seasons Book and Gift Center, Palmdale Shopping Plaza. The dress code for this event is smart casual, and the show is rated B. For inquiries, you can actually email Dario at DERICSproductions@gmail.com. That's DERICSproductions@gmail.com. Or you can give them a call at 436-6405. You don't want to miss this unforgettable cinematic experience. All right, so thank you so much. For our first time listening audience, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for our continued listening audience. Of course, we could not have done this without you. To our sponsors, we could not have done this without you. And our amazing guests who are family, they're family to me especially, and I give God praise for them. We don't have time to share how I first, for those who's knowing or hearing about me for the first time I met Pastor Kevin, the wrongest thing for him to do was place his number or say his number on air,
Yeah,
which he did.
I
I
would
think
do
that was
it
about
again.
8 or 9 years ago. And we have been best friends ever since. So he will never do that again. I promise you.
No,
He will never do that
no,
again. But
no.
to my brother and sister in Christ, I saw somebody share that as well. And that's who they are to me as well. But don't mind me calling her Deidre like that. I cringe every time I say it. I still honor them. I still call him Pastor Kevin. I still call her Mrs. Deidre, and that's because of the honor and respect that I have for them. And so I want to thank them once again, and to their audience and the massive following that they have. Thank you for being a part of the show today. And so we are closing out now, and we're grateful for your presence on today's show. And until next time, I pray that you are all encouraged, empowered, and educated again today. God bless you and have a beautiful Sunday.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Take the thing off the flyer. I want to see their faces. There you go. See that beautiful face. Bye-bye. We good? Yeah, we're ending the radio. Okay, good. So anything else you want to say, Mrs. Deidre or Kevin, before we end the Facebook?
I'm good.
Yeah, let me say one thing. I wanted to kind of pick it back off of when she asked you if you have had anyone disrespect you. Right. What I wanted to add to that, because I have a lot to do with that.
Right.
Okay. And I always believe this. I teach this a lot, that men, I know of people who've lost their ministry, men that is, because they never ever dealt with the area of being respectful to their wives so that people can respect their wives. Right. So if they're out there flirting and cutting up and swing off to whatever they're talking about, right, showing all his teeth and stuff, then what you're basically giving the other party is a signal, well, you know, if we ever get the opportunity, no. And I feel a man should, for example, I could be here all night saying, "Oh, I love this woman and I can't see myself without her." Okay, now when this thing turn off,
Mm-hmm.
people are watching you. Why I don't see y'all look like y'all ain't holding no hand, y'all only should affectionate, and all of the stuff y'all put out here. Why don't we see this when we are in your company? So to me, whatever you say in terms of how much you love your partner, you know what? I should see that in the behavior towards each other.
Come on.
I should see that. So I tell you, anyone who know me and I'm around her, I'm always affectionate with her. I'm not putting on a show. That is who I am. So when people see that, they're less likely to
Yes.
try to invade the relationship.
Yes. That is so true.
That's so true. Like you can't be
Right.
keying up with
No, no,
these
no, no,
women.
no,
Right.
no, no, no,
Sometimes
no,
they ain't, you know what I mean? They take that the wrong way. So you got to
Yes.
be
no. Right,
mindful. I mean,
right,
you could be courteous, but you don't
right.
have there's no reason why there should be mixed signals.
Right.
Because that
No,
one
Right.
smile can open a door for something.
Right.
Yeah,
right, right,
yeah.
Uh-huh.
right.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the little
That's
piece
it.
That's
of the
it.
party. We gone now. I can let y'all go have your little Sunday.
Yes.
You off
Thank
for the rest of the
you.
year.
Yes.
Yes.
International invitations are out
We're not doing any more for this year, but we
this
have
year.
something private we're doing for us this year. But we're not, no
Yeah.
international,
No,
No,
nothing.
we're done with
no,
that.
you need your little
No.
break.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right.
We had,
So
right.
yeah, we had some
I pray.
invitations, but I turned it down.
Yeah, because you got to know when to stop.
Right.
You know when to rest, know
Right.
when to allocate your time to
Mm-hmm.
whatever else is needed, and that's
Right.
fine. And
Right.
so we're grateful for what you do.
Thank you.
And I brag about you all the time. And
Yeah.
I laughed, I chuckled actually when you said, and you say this all the time though, Pastor Kevin, you talk about your 5 million inboxes, which you ain't reach
Right.
yet. Because I have a coworker, I don't know if she's listening now, but she been hunting me down. I don't know if you remember. I was like, she been
Right.
hunting me down. I said, well, this was last week. I say they're gonna be on the show on Sunday. For true? I say, yeah, but
Right.
I can't guarantee nothing, sis. Because
Right.
sometimes I can't get a meter. That thing would be on blue tick for about 100 years. I wouldn't get it. If I want Pastor
Yeah.
Kevin, I gotta go find Mrs. Deidre. And
Right.
well,
Yep.
thank God she checks her phone. So
Yes.
that's the only way things can happen.
Right.
Join the club, and that's just how it is.
Yep.
And we love the fact that you have time for everyone else, and you still have time
Yes.
for your
Yes.
family, but most
Yes.
importantly, and I know that you do this, that you have time for yourself as well.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
also important. And we leave it now, but that's something that
Yes.
both parties, wives and husbands, should do as well, as a part of trying to gain trust and build love, etc. Still find time for yourself,
Right.
Right.
and most importantly, still find time, make appointment with God,
Right.
so that he can do the proper downloading, so that he can actually show you who you are, so that he can
Right.
allow you to see yourself in the mirror through his word, to know, okay, how do I, when you ask, like, okay, God, this is what he's doing, this is what she's doing. Now he's going to say, okay, let me show you what you're doing,
Right.
and let me show you how to become better.
Right.
So being busy is not always good. You find time for the world, you find time for the things that is
Right.
needed, you find time for your family, but I still want to pull you aside and want you to find time with me.
Yes.
And so that's also important for those who are still listening, or those who would listen in previous weeks or whatever. How you find time with God, so that you can show up properly to be able to help with this covenant that you proclaim to have stated between your spouse and God. You need to know how to show up, and in order to do that, you need to allow God to show you who you are and what he wants you to be privately,
Right.
Yes.
own spare time. Yeah.
Mhm.
Trish, let me just say, for the next time we come on, let's touch on the blended family too, because
I thought
that
about that.
causes a lot of issues.
I thought
in a
about
marriage.
that. Yes, we definitely want to do that. Thank you for that. I thought about that when I was doing the bios, and I tried to reword some of the stuff, and I saw that, yeah, the 5 kids and stuff, and I said, how do I word that? But that is something that is important, and these are the things that people deal with, but don't know how
Right.
to deal with.
Right.
How do I and this is just a preview. All right. Do I treat this one better than the next? Do I say that this is just my child and not yours? Do I act a certain way because this the child I brought into this marriage? You know what I mean? So that's important, and that's what actually helps. What causes strife as well. And then not only does that become an impact or carries weight for the marriage, but it also does the same for the child, where they feel that things are unfair and this person isn't treating me right, and then the relationship is fractured because someone that doesn't feel that they're being treated fairly. So definitely something that we need to cover, and we'll talk about that, off air, like when we want to go again and what is best for both of you. Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty.
So,
all right.
We
So
going
you-
for true this time.
Yeah.
It's like them
Right.
pastors who say they leaving, but we going for true. So
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
And
Take
blessings
care.
to you, and take care. Good night.
Good night.
Log off.